Hey, it's Yomi here. So today I wanted to do my September wrap up. Now, I didn't read that many books in the month of September just because it was a really busy month for me, but I did manage to finish some books, and I also participated in a read-a-thon, and I also found hidden gems that I really did enjoy. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, so the only read-a-thon that I managed to participate in the month of September was Avatar: The Last Airbender read-a-thon, and I discovered that one and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna participate in this one just because I'm a really huge fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I was like, you know what, this is perfect for this month. And it's also going to be a really difficult month for me with reading just because work is extremely busy in August and September, which are my two busiest months. But I did manage to participate and I did manage to get a few of them. I wanted to be the Avatar, which I wanted to complete all of them, but like I said, I didn't have enough time. But I did manage to complete the Earth Kingdom, and for that one I did complete Toph, which was Book with a Chosen Family. And for that one I decided to go with A Darkness Strange and Lovely by Susan Dennard. This is the second book in this series, which I can't recall what's the name of the series. I don't think it really has one, but it's just the Something Strange and Deadly series. Yeah, the Something Strange and Deadly trilogy, that's what I'm gonna call it. And I think that's what you call it basically because it's written on the back now that I discovered that. So yeah, I gave this one a 3.75 out of 5 stars just because in this one my main issue was the main character Eleanor. I think that she was making some rash decisions and she was also really reckless, and she played the lying card one too many times, and I was like, you know what, I can't with you, woman, because I can't with you. In the first book I really did empathize with her because I really did enjoy her growth and how was it that she, you know, came to see a lot of the things in a world that she really wasn't a part of. And then that's another thing, you know, she's basically dealing in stuff that she has no prior knowledge of. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing, but yet she's the one who knows everything now all of a sudden because she's an expert in it. And roughly the people who had more experience in what she's been dealing in, especially the spiritual world and the necromancy and just, you know, black magic in general, and she roughly knew everything, and the ones who knew more than her were just lying to her and didn't know what they were talking about, which is something that really infuriated me a lot. And I know that it was used to boast her character arc, but it just rubbed me the wrong way and I wasn't a fan of it. And I can say that there were things that were interesting, like the fact that we have these spirit hunters. We're getting more from the spiritual world. We're getting more from necromancy. We're also some other characters that were introduced that were quite interesting characters. I thought that the pace dragged a lot in this one, and for me this is completely sort of a filler book just because there are some things that really were unnecessary, things that dragged. The villain was just like, what? So this is roughly setting up for the third and final installment, but I really wasn't a fan of this one. And it was sad because I really did enjoy the first book, but overall I am going to continue because I really want to know what the heck else is it that's going to happen. So hopefully Eleanor will change as a character in the next one, because it's like I'm thinking that something is going to happen to her and she might become something else. I don't know. I don't want to think that way just because I honestly don't want to think that way, but this was a little bit of a disappointment for me. The next challenge in the Earth Kingdom was Suki, which is Book with a Beautiful Cover. For that one I chose Shearwood by Megan Spooner, and I gave that one a 3 out of 5 stars. For a book being one of my highly anticipated releases, it was a huge disappointment. And even though I did start off enjoying it because I felt empathy with one of the main characters, especially Robin Hood, he was one that I was really enjoying, and he was just introduced in such a short moment. But I'm a sucker for like these characters that will give their life or become roughly martyrs for a greater cause, and like on their dying bed, on their dying bed, like be like, I'm sorry I failed you, especially towards the person that they love, that they've grown up with, and that person that they cherish, and they're, you know, asking for forgiveness right there in the last moment. I was just like, oh my god, I'm tearing up. And he was one that I really did enjoy. And then overall, like the beginning or the first act for me was quite interesting because I was getting to know the character a little bit more. But as the story progresses, I was just really annoyed by it because Shearwood is a gender flip of Robin Hood. Robin Hood has died and his soon-to-be love roughly takes up the mantle because she's tired of seeing the people in her village basically suffer and just being treated unjustly. So she decides to take up the mantle, and a lot of things ensue from there on. But I had a lot of issues with it because the pace was really slow, and then there were moments that action was included in the story. Then we have so many moments that are just completely slow, then we have action. So the pace really did drag in the entire story. So we were given bits and pieces that were interesting, and then mundane moments that were really lackluster. And I was like, you know what, this is completely unnecessary to include within the book. But overall, I thought that, you know, if you're gonna introduce a fierce female character, then just make her that throughout the entire story. Don't just give me flashbacks, because you do have flashbacks throughout the story of her with Robin Hood, and I would have loved for it to have been concrete and like to actually see that moment, because I really did enjoy those little aspects of them in the past, you know, interacting with one another. But it's like she was introduced as being a strong character in the past life, and like she being able to best this person and best this other person, but yet when it came down to another person, oh, she was like, oh my god, this person is stronger than I am, I can't best him. And I was just waiting for the moment for her to roughly faint, because she did faint one too many times, and I was just like, what's happening here? This book started out so good, and then I don't know, it just, for me, it really went downhill. I ended up reading it at 2.5 speed, because I thought that near towards the third act, like the second and third act, that bridge between both of them, it really slowed down in pace. And then the third act is really slow until the end, which it does pick up a lot of pace, but then the ending is given, and I'm just like, oh, okay, you know, it really didn't drive my curiosity or my love for it, because it was just like, also like, why all of a sudden now you're interested in this person? Like, what happened here? I don't know, there were a lot of things that really did let me down, and I just wasn't a fan of the pace overall of the story. And while I do have to admit that there were characters that were interesting throughout their development, they kind of dwindled in interest, and I was just not caring about anything else. I do have to admit that the cover, like I said, the cover is gorgeous. It's beautiful, which is one of the many reasons why I chose it for that prompt. But overall, the execution of everything else for me really fell flat. Now for Fire Nation, I only managed to read one, which was Azula, which was Book with an Interesting Villain. For that one, I chose Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because this is sort of a reimagining of the TV series, and I think this is done really amazing. We have characters that are introduced, like in the TV series they're introduced roughly halfway through the series, and here they're just introduced from the get-go, like Spike, Anya, Drusilla. These are characters that I really did love, because those villains are just so intriguing and just so captivating, that they're just such villainous characters, but you actually enjoy how much of a villain they really are. So I thought that it was really incredible. I really loved this book so much. This was a gift from Sherry, and I really did love this book so much. I thought that having also Willow to have a female romance from the get-go, and her being a strong sort of emo kind of person, but in like kind of a gothic person, not emo, but she was kind of a gothic person, especially with the way she dressed, and she was really strong. And also Cordelia being really strong, I was just like, yes, this is just exactly what I wanted in the TV series. Instead of just having Buffy to be a strong individual character, I always wanted every single other female to be strong also, but obviously the Slayer is the one who's going to be the strongest one out of all of them. But also having these other female characters, you know, to have Spunk, to be sassy, to be strong and fierce, and just, oh man, it was just incredible, because I loved everything about it. I gave, if you can't tell, I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars, because it was just amazing, and the villains are incredible. I also love that we get a lot more of lore from the Watchers, which is something that I always have wanted to know more about them. So we do get a lot more in this one, and I was just really fascinated with everything. I have to admit that Xander was the one who won my heart, because we get a little bit more in depth into Xander's persona and him questioning his spot within, you know, the Scooby Gang, as they're dubbed. So oh my god, he really did, you know, I get goosebumps, because like he really did like call to me, you know. I really did empathize a lot with his character. But overall, this was an amazing graphic novel, and I cannot wait to continue with the series. Now, I wasn't able to complete anything in the Water Tribe challenges, just because I didn't have time to read those. I started one, but unfortunately I didn't quite finish it. But I honestly would love to be a waterbender with healing abilities, just because I would love to heal people, you know. Just the water bending aspect of it is something that I really do enjoy. Like, if I would have to choose, I would definitely love to be the Avatar. But if I have to choose, it would be between two, water bending and also like being an earthbender, just because I would love to be a metal bending officer. I'm just throwing that out there. Or lava bending would be pretty cool, but you know what, I still choose metal bending because I think it's just so unique and so cool. And obviously Toph created it, you know, she's a badass main character. Now with the air nomads, which is one that I don't know, I'd love to be an air nomad because I think it's really, really interesting to be an air nomad, but like the fact that I'm afraid of heights, maybe it'd be good to, like, you know, face my fears, but not yet. I did manage to finish both of them, which was a happy / hopeful book. For that one, I did choose Beastly Bones by William Ritter. This is a series that I am just completely hooked. I loved it. I love it so much. This is the second book I read. I'm going to pretty soon read the third one. But I think that this series is just so amazing because it is a historical paranormal read, and it obviously also deals with mystery because we have Jacoby, and he is an eccentric detective who takes on these weird supernatural cases, and I just love his character in general. I just love how he is, and I've compared him to Newt Scamander and also Sherlock Holmes, but Sherlock Holmes portrayed by Robert Downey Jr., just because I think that those two meshed together would create Jacoby. And even though in Beastly Bones, even though there's not much happening for the plot of the story per se, because you're getting a lot of information, but really nothing is happening to pinpoint or solve the mystery as to what the hell is really happening. So we're having a lot of subplots that are being woven into the story, but as a grand scheme of it all, because we do have shapeshifters, we do have these mysterious bones that are being introduced, this mysterious man that's also kind of creepy. Maybe he's the person who's possibly behind what is really happening. And also there are a lot of things that are misleading. There are deaths that are unexplained. So there's a lot of things happening, and then overall in the end you understand what is it that's happening, because we're getting pieces for the ultimate culprit to be revealed, because there's somebody, you know, who's behind everything that's happening, and it's like, you know, he's putting the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle together until you actually form the entire puzzle and discover who is this person in the end. So this is actually building up for the next installment. And also we do have from certain specters or certain ghosts, which are going to lead into a lot more interesting details. So even though we didn't have much of the plot line per se, I really enjoyed the story. There wasn't any moments that I was just like, oh my god, just get to the point, this is so boring, just because I love all the characters in this series. We also get a character that was introduced in the first book, and they get back together in this book, and I was just like, yeah, I'm all for it. But I really did enjoy this story. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I also have to say that you know, Jacoby is one that I'm really, you know, surprised by, because he did give a lot of great advice to Miss Rook, and Miss Rook is his sidekick. She is one that I really genuinely love. So as of a whole, this is an amazing book. I love it. The characters are just so amazing, again, because I just love them so dearly. So, you know, this does expand on the storyline to see what else is it that's going to happen within the other books, and I just really did enjoy it. Read ATLA, which is Book with Lovable Pets, and for that one I chose Lumberjanes Volume 3, A Terrible Plan. I gave that 3 out of 5 stars. I think that the series for me, it did shift because the artist, I think also the writers, or I think the artists were the ones who shifted. So I thought that the graphics were a bit, I don't know, were kind of weird, and also characters for me really did change from the beginning towards like from the first and the second now towards the third. How is it that they're acting? I think that the shift was really abundantly clear, and it was a shift that I really wasn't enjoying, because these female characters are supposed to be fierce and strong and whatnot, and just, you know, going head on to face whatever little demons or lures are being in the camp, and then they just came off like really psycho, like really crazy, like really out there, and I'm just like, whoa, take it easy, like what happened to you? You were such a great character, and now it's like the change really wasn't one that I really did enjoy. Yeah, it was that, but overall it was okay, but it wasn't that entertaining for me. And for the final challenge for the Avatar The Last Airbender readathon was to read the group's book, and that one was The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C.E. I gave that one a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but overall it is a 5 out of 5 star book, just because the feels, the Easter eggs, the aspect of me being content reading or going back into the Avatar: The Last Airbender world for me was perfection. I enjoyed that book from beginning to end. The reason that I took away the 0.5 was because for me, I think that the introduction of a perspective from a sort of a villainous character's viewpoint wasn't one that I really did enjoy, because it didn't sway my feelings for him or for this person in general. And also the fact that the pace did slow down a bit, which was basically the only reasons why I actually gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. But the feel, like I said, is a 5 out of 5 star reading, because you take one of the most beloved avatars, which is Avatar Kyoshi, and you give her a backstory. Hell yeah, I'm going to be intrigued and mesmerized from beginning to end, and the book did just that. I cannot wait to pick this book up, so actually physically read it again and annotate it, because it was just everything that I wanted in a backstory for Avatar Kyoshi. Even though I'm going to admit there were some instances where I was just like, wait, where is he taking this storyline, or where is he taking this subplot? Because like with what we've seen from Avatar: Last Airbender, I don't know how this is going to be made up. But it's also so interesting how we get even more political corruption from the Earth Kingdom. So we get the backstory of the political corruption from such a huge nation that, you know, if you saw Avatar: Last Airbender, you know what happens, especially with Ba Sing Se, and just like getting the backstory of that, you know, the political corruption has been going on for years within the making, and then eventually what else happens, and also the fact that the 4 nations have been without an avatar for such a long time, which was something that was so unheard of, because the previous avatar died at such a young age, and it's also something that really isn't seen a lot of. But also the path that certain people are willing to take in order not to let these bad guys, outlaws, or vile leaders to rule and, you know, take shape, and, you know, the self-righteous path that certain people are willing to take, and also along the way for their path and also their actions to be blurred, you know, and actually lose the sight of what is it that they're actually fighting for, or just, you know, try to bend what is it that they are trying to accomplish, because they've had to do so many things that along the way they lost the sight of what they really wanted to do, which was something that was just so amazing. I thought that it played into it, which was such an amazing storyline, which is something that I really did enjoy. Also did love all of the revelations from Kyoshi's family, to her makeup, to her uniform, to her fans. Like everything has some kind of backstory, and I was just completely fascinated with everything from beginning to end. And we also had these amazing side characters, which I do think that I would have loved for them to have been fleshed out a little bit more. It was overall, it was just so gripping. It was a page turner from beginning to end, and even though, like I said, even though there's a moment where it does slow down pace, I just kept on because I wanted to continue. I wanted to finish that book because it was so good. And also the fact of what a woman's worth is within the book, and also how you are visualized for being tall and for being different and for being big, and also, you know, the stereotypical form, and also like looking away from that and actually sort of like bending, you know, pun intended, bending the rules, and just, you know, being proud of who you are, and also other little aspects that were kind of given throughout the story, which is more that has to do with Kyoshi and her longevity, which was, again, I'm fascinated by the entire book, the entire plot line, everything that was introduced, everything that we were given backstories to. And like I said, the Easter eggs were so amazing. I just loved everything, and the fact that we were included, you know, animals that are part of Avatar: The Last Airbender that were introduced in the TV series, and just everything about it was just so entertaining. Everything was just simply lovely. We do have I don't know if I would call it like a sapphic romance, but there is a female on female romance, because there isn't much given as to if both of them, you know, I don't know, I'm not gonna say anything, but it was just really good. It was amazing. I loved it from beginning to end, and I highly recommend for everybody to pick it up because it was just that good. So those are all the books that I managed to read for the month of September. If I would have to choose one as to be my overall favorite for the month, it would definitely have to be The Rise of Kyoshi, because I enjoyed it so much. Second close one would be Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the graphic novel, because it was really interesting, and it was just what I wanted from the TV series. But yeah, if you want to tell me which was your favorite read for the month of September, then feel free and tell me, and we'll chit chat down below. But I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful day and or night, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.